Alright, this tutorial is about using text as brushes and separating a photo into highlights, shadows, and midtones to create a really nice portraiture effect. So to get started, we need to select a photograph to work from. I just saw The Great Gatsby, so I've been thinking I wanted to make one with Leonardo DiCaprio as my feature. So I'm going to start by going to Safari, and I'm just going to do a search for Leonardo DiCaprio. Now remember to narrow it down. We don't need all these websites. What we need are images only. And to make the search even more specific, I like to go to Search Tools and get under size. I like to get the large photo search. That way you've got more high resolution to work with. Now when you're looking for a photo, try to get one that doesn't have a lot of information in the background and that's fairly simple to work from. So I'm going to look for one that I think would be good for this project, and I think also it'd be best to get something with a white background already. If you don't have a white background, you'll have to paint one in or delete what's back there. So I found one I think will work, and this one looks great. So make it into the larger view, not just the small thumbnail, and then either drag it to your folder or the desktop. Now we're done with the site, so we can close that. And I'm going to drag it directly into the Photoshop icon. So it's a pretty good photo. I can tell there's some high contrast already, but I need to get rid of this little eyeballer up here. So what I can do is sample the white background or change it to white. I'm just going to get a paintbrush and actually paint over it in white. Okay, now my photo's ready to go, and I'm going to start my steps to create this image. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to select the shadows, and we're going to save that selection for later. So I'd go up to Select, Color Range, and I need to change this drop-down menu from Sampled Colors to Shadows. When you hit OK, you'll notice that it automatically selects the darkest areas in the picture. Now we're going to save this selection for later, so to make sure I can reselect that easily, I'm going to go up to Select, Save Selection, and I'm going to name this Shadows. Okay, so now when I go back to my selection window, I can easily reselect that exact area. So I'm also going to paste these shadows onto a new layer. So to do that, I just go to Command J, and you'll notice in your layers that a new layer has emerged, and it's got just the shadows. We're going to do one more thing to that layer, which is I want to fill those shadows into a darker black. So we'll go to Edit, Fill, and you're going to change the contents to black and just hit OK. So notice now when you hide the bottom layer, you've got a nice dark image. It's actually kind of neat already just on its own. Okay, so we've done our shadows layer, and we've saved it, and we've filled it with a dark black. Now we're going to go back to the original picture, and this time you're going to go Select, Color Range, but you're going to select your midtones this time and hit OK. So now you can see it's selecting the middle gray, and we need to save this selection. So we're going to go Select, Save Selection, and we're going to call it Midtones and hit OK. Now the next step is to put those midtones on their own layer, so I'm going to hit Command J. And now that I'm on that layer, you can see that I just have my grays. So we're going to fill those grays with a nice solid mid-tone color. So go Edit, Fill, change it from black to 50% gray, and hit OK. So now you can see what we're left with is this kind of interesting shadow and mid-tone portrait already. Now for the fun part, you're going to create your own custom brushes, and we're going to use those to fill in these two levels. So you're actually going to make a new document, so File, New. It doesn't really matter what size, but since we've been using 8.5 by 11, I'm going to go ahead and make it 8.5 by 11 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and make it a 300 at your print ready high resolution document. The background content should also be white. and then hit OK. So you've got this huge page in front of you, and you're just going to get your T tool and make sure you have black and white default colors, and just click once, and you're going to think of 5 phrases or words that represent the person that you're creating for. And I'm going to start with just movies that Leonardo DiCaprio has been in. So I'm going to type in Catch Me If You Can. And I'm going to try to switch my fonts each time as well. So here's the first one. Then I'm going to think of another movie. So I'll do, let's see, The Great Gatsby. And this time, like I said, each font should be totally different, so get a nice variation. This time I'll do something like that. Kind of fits with the theme. And then a couple more movies. I'm going to do Romeo and Juliet. Change fonts again. Maybe this one I'll do something a little bit more script-like. Gonna move that around, capitalize Juliet to just keep it consistent. Okay, and I need 2 more. So I will do Inception, I believe. And triple click. And maybe something modern and technology related here. Okay, and the last one, I believe he was in Gangs of New York. I'm not sure, but I'm going to go for it. Hopefully you've picked these out before you start the project. But this is my last one, so spend some time creating your different titles or words to describe the person and adjust your fonts. Okay, so we've created 5 different words, and now you're basically going to create a brush out of each of these. So I'm starting with this square marquee tool. I'm going to just select around the first one and hit Edit, Define Brush Preset. Now every once in a while this won't show up because you need to expand your menu. And if it says Show All Menu Items at the bottom, that means you need to click that, and then you should see Define Brush Preset. So I click this, and it's just going to tell me that it's making it into a brush, and I'm just going to hit OK. Go to the next word, Edit, Define Brush Preset, hit OK. Next one, Edit, Define Brush Preset, hit OK. Now technically you could actually name these brushes. Edit, Define Brush Preset. See how it gives you an option to name it. I'm not naming them because I feel like the word basically names itself. But if you were making brushes that were different paint splatters or something, you may want to name each one. So Edit, Define Brush Preset, and hit OK. Alright, so we actually are done with that document, and I can just close it. I don't even need to save it because I've already defined all my brushes. So now we're going to actually paint this character with our new brushes. So we've got our 3 layers, but we're going to create a new layer. Make sure it's on the very top. We're going to start by hiding everything, and we're going to load our shadow selection. So if you go up to Select, Load Selection, click on the pull-down menu, and you're going to load your shadows layer. And you can't really see it too well, but you'll notice that's your shadows that we're going to paint in first. So we're going to get our paintbrush layer, and you're going to make sure you have black selected. Make sure you've got 100% opacity and 100% flow, and it's on normal. Now you're going to go down to the very bottom, and you should notice that your brushes will be selected. When you click on these different brushes, it'll show you those words. Now these are awfully large, so I need to just change the brush to, you're going to use a variety of sizes, but I'm going to start with something kind of medium. So now what you're going to do is just basically stamp all around, and notice it's only going to stamp inside the areas that are selected. So I could actually paint with it, which I don't want to do because you want to be able to see and read those words. But the trick for this is in areas that are high detail, like his eyes and his nose, you want to really stamp a lot. You want to see the words, but it doesn't have to be completely legible. It's more of an art piece. So I'm just stamping around. Now you also want to change and vary the size of the text often. So I'm going to make some stamps big. Okay, and I don't want to do all saying Gangs of New York. I want to switch to my other brushes. So about right now, I would go over here. I'm going to choose Romeo and Juliet next. Now I might want to stamp a couple really big. And then I'll get my brush and create a smaller variation. Clicking through. Now you guys will have a lot of time to work with this. I'm going to kind of rush through it just for the tutorial purposes here so I can get it ready for you to try yours. Okay, but you can already see his face is starting to take shape just from stamping the text in here. I do need to switch to every single one of my texts before I move on. So those are big ones here. Probably only want to click a couple really large, but then do some smaller as well. At the very end, you kind of want to customize it, use your best judgment, and kind of make it your own artistic representation of this style. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next step, but you can always come back, load the selection, and do some more if you feel like you need to. Next thing we're going to do is Command D to deselect, and now we're going to load our midtones. So select, load selection. We're going to change it to midtones and hit OK. So now our midtones are selected. The only difference here is you're going to change your brush color to a shade of gray. Just kind of a middle gray. Hit OK, and now you're going to do the same technique. So I'm going to go down and pick another word, Catch Me If You Can, and I'm going to start painting in the gray. Notice that it's only filling in the gray section. Okay, so change the brush often, do some large, some small. Good variety, and you don't want things too close together. Okay, and then I'm going to go to another brush. Which one have I not used yet? Inception. Make that nice and small and sort of click and fill in the gray areas. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and stop so that you can see the final product. For the final product, again, I'd probably spend a little more time filling these in. But what you can do is add a new layer, pull it directly behind that one, and just simply fill it with white. Oops. Make sure I've deselected, Command D. Fill that with white. So now you're starting to see your end result. And on this layer, I like to just take a couple of those words and just kind of extend out of the image a bit, just to kind of give it my own flair. So this part you can just decide where you want to add those extra. That one's awfully large, so I'm going to undo that one. Maybe scale that back just a bit. Just kind of let some of the words hang out in that white space if you have some to finish it up and create your imagery. So you've got a lot of new technique here. Try one in black and white just like mine, but then go ahead and try it with different kinds of brushes or different colors. You can do this with text or even images. So maybe you'd want to make an image of Leonardo DiCaprio, and instead of using the text, you could do images of himself as your brushes. So have fun with it, try the new techniques, and make sure that you're using a variation and following those simple steps.